Welcome to Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now you can learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property. Learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau with the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denisi, and Corker. He's a member of the Committee on Professional Ethics of the Bar Association of Nassau County and counsel to the Nassau Academy of Law. And now, here is your host for Law You Should Know, attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we'll be discussing Social Security disability, and attorney Shamini Prasad with offices in Farmingdale is going to give us an update of what conditions might qualify and the process for being accepted. Shamini, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, because of the economy and different people being adversely impacted by some type of disability, one of the few things that they might be able to do is apply for Social Security disability. So tell us what that is about.
Well, Social Security disability is a federal program. It started with Roosevelt's New Deal. It's evolved since then. But today the program is based on any type of medical impairment that you may have, whether it's physical or mental. To qualify for the disability, you have to have a certain amount of years of work, solid work history in order to be eligible for one of the programs offered by the Social Security Administration.
And roughly how much credit do you need?
You need 5 full working years out of the last 10.
Okay, so does it matter what you earned or whether you worked full-time?
Well, it has to be above minimum wage. So anything above minimum wage for working 5 solid years is going to help you. Obviously, we're looking for clients who've worked more than 5 years, but the minimum requirement is 5 full years out of the last 10.
So if you had not worked in the last few years, you just may lose eligibility by not applying in time.
Yes, exactly.
So you have a certain window.
Yes.
And what are some typical conditions that might disable someone and allow them to be accepted by Social Security disability, and how have they evolved or changed over the years?
There is a medical listing that Social Security enacted. It's called the Listing of Impairments. And in that listing of impairments are 14 types of illnesses. You don't have to fit within any of those illnesses. You may have an illness that does not fit within the listing of impairment. But the impairments could be cardiac, back, neurology. It could be a mental impairment. We've seen recent cases of more cancer patients being denied. But the medical impairment could be anything and everything.
And it has to impair you from doing any kind of job, the job that you had, a job that requires a lot of physical activity?
Well, depending upon your age, the criteria is less of a burden. For instance, if you're over 50 years old and you've held one job for 20 plus years, then we only need to show that you cannot perform that job. If you're under 50 and you've had a variety of jobs, and some of those are sedentary in nature, then the burden of proof is much higher, and you have to be able to prove that that individual is not capable of any work, including sedentary work.
And let's say your type of job has evaporated. Maybe you worked in a manufacturing job on Long Island, and those don't exist anymore. Would you be required to do some other job that you had never done before?
Depending on your age, yes. If you're over 50, then the only burden of proof you have is showing that you cannot perform your job. If you're under 50, it doesn't matter if your job evaporated. If you're under 50 and you're capable of another type of job, you wouldn't be found disabled.
And so an illness, a mental or physical, is not enough, but it must impair you.
Yes, yes.
And if you have one illness that in and of itself may not be disabling, but you have one or two other illnesses, perhaps one physical and one mental, can a combination approach help you qualify?
Yes, definitely.
If you have a bad back and you're seriously depressed about it.
Yes, yeah, a combination of impairments.
Because of heart problems, you're depressed by it. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the combination of impairments make your case that much stronger. But we've won cases where clients have only had a single impairment and they've been eligible for benefits.
And when is it best for? I understand that you, first of all, you devote your practice to Social Security disability, and I think also veterans disability.
Yes.
And you've been doing it a long time, and workers' comp as well.
Yes.
When is it best they come to you? If they have some, let's say the back acted up and they are not recovering as fast as they should, or they had the surgery and it was not fully successful. Should they come to you then, or should they come to you after they've been unable to return to work for a few months?
Yes, it's really when they've been unable to return to work, or when they've left their job, or when the job has pretty much said to them, listen, you're not performing and we're going to have to let you go. We don't want to do this. So at the point where the client is separated or separates themselves from the workforce, that's when they should really be seeking an attorney or getting some information.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent disability, but it has to be a long-term disability.
Well, it has to be eligible. There's a duration requirement under the Social Security guidelines, and you have to be impaired for 12 consecutive months. That's the duration requirement. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be out of work and not working before you apply. If there's an anticipation that your condition is expected to last for 12 consecutive months, the client should consider applying soon thereafter.
So if it's something that's going to get worse, let's say you have Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis or Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's going to get worse, you don't have to wait till it disables you?
No, you should be seeking treatment and applying.
So you can hope for the best, but you're preparing for the worst.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
And do you help clients evaluate their options without a charge?
Yes, we offer a free consultation. Most Social Security disabilities attorney will meet with a client free of charge. I'm included in that pack of attorneys. There shouldn't be any charge for any type of Social Security work. Any fees have to be approved by Social Security.
So you will help them fill out the initial application if they think they may be eligible for some of the reasons you've outlined.
Yes.
And what are some of the information you need from them or records, and what are some of the questions you'll ask them?
Well, usually what we do is we ask them to visit the Social Security website, which is www.ssa.gov. And Social Security that has evolved, and that website is, I find, extremely sophisticated. You can get a lot of information. You can actually file your application online. But what we recommend that the client do when we speak to them is go to the website and create your Social Security account so that you can look at your benefit estimate. Now, I don't know if you remember, about 3 or 4 years ago, you used to get a benefit estimate mailed to your home. Do you recall ever getting one of those? It's white with a green border.
This is the regular benefit estimate for regular Social Security.
Well, it's a Social Security benefit estimate that's based upon your work history.
Okay.
Years ago, that used to be mailed to your home.
Right.
About 4 years ago, they stopped doing that. Social Security stopped doing that because of budget cuts. Because now you can obtain that benefit estimate by creating an online profile, and Social Security will allow you to download your benefit estimate. So when a client initially calls us, they usually will say, well, I don't know how much I'm going to get. How am I going to live on that? We don't know either. So we tell them, go to the Social Security website. There is a tab for create your own account. You will be asked some privacy questions, and then Social Security will allow you to create that account, and you'll be able to view your benefit estimate, view it, print it, and save it on your own computer.
So the benefits you would receive would depend on your highest earnings?
It depends on your earnings over the course of your entire work history. Emphasis is on the last few years, but your benefit is based upon all your years of work and the amount of FICA tax that you contributed.
And this is true for disability as well.
That's what it is, at disability and retirement.
Now let's change the question a little bit.
Okay.
If someone has worked off the books regardless of the circumstances, maybe the employers insisted on it, but now they're really disabled. Is that going to interfere with their eligibility for Social Security disability?
Yes, it is. They've basically lost out on that benefit insurance.
Can they go back and come clean?
No.
If they're really an employee, but the boss, won't classify them that way, can they pay FICA on their own to create that work history?
Well,
as an independent contractor, so to speak.
Well, I can answer your question a little bit because I've had a little bit of experience in that area. About 10 years ago, I represented an individual who was a trucker, and he had worked for this company, this trucking company, an interstate, very large interstate company, for more than 10 years. He had a very severe, massive heart attack, and he came to my office seeking to establish his impairment and hopefully get his disability benefits. When he brought his benefit estimate to our office, the one that was mailed to him by Social Security, in the last 10 years, according to that document, he had zero earnings. What had happened was the employer was making the deduction, the FICA tax deduction, but they weren't paying the right entity. So the client essentially hadn't paid sufficient quarters. What we were able to do, because he was able to get his tax returns and the W-2 forms were attached, and what we were able to do was show Social Security that he had worked properly, correctly, and legally on the books, and the employer had failed to report his earnings. They accepted that, and he was able to show that he was able to get his benefit estimate amended to show his 10 years of work.
So this would be a reason for a person who's, let's say, off the books to report their income so they create a history with Social Security.
Yes. I mean, in this particular instance, the client didn't know.
Right. He had the money withheld, but I'm saying if someone's in more control of the situation and the employer is not reporting them or the income, they might still want to do it on their own so they have some work history.
Well, you can't. That's a sticky situation because you cannot knowingly file incorrect taxes. The knowing is really what's going to make or break the case. In the instance that I gave you, my client did not know. In the example you gave me, if the client knows, he cannot then go file retroactive back taxes.
No, I'm saying about retroactive. I'm saying they might want to do it every year.
You have to.
Right.
You should be.
So I'm saying if the employer is not putting them on the books and reporting them as an employee, they may want to pay their taxes and pay into Social Security on their own, so at least they'll be eligible for benefits.
Yes, absolutely.
For regular Social Security and also for Social Security disability.
Yes, retirement and disability.
Okay. We're going to take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue our discussion of Social Security disability update with attorney Shamini Prasad, and she'll give you her own firm's website where you can learn a lot about the Social Security and Social Security disability system. You're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC in Garden City, Long Island, New York, and also over the web at www.ncc.edu/WHPC with free podcast available at itunes.ncc.edu. We'll be back in a moment.
Hi, we want to tell you about a program with real appeal. There is a high-quality, low-cost paralegal studies program right here at Nassau Community College.
It can be your major while earning your associate's degree.
Or taken as a certificate program if you already have a 2- or 4-year college degree.
It can be the start of your legal career or a great second career.
It is also a great credential in the business world.
Many of our paralegal graduates go on to 4-year colleges and even law school.
You can complete the certificate program in several months. Paralegals work in private law firms, government, and corporations on Long Island and New York City.
You can start in the summer, fall, and winter, attend full or part-time, days, nights, or weekends.
Our tuition is low, and the program is approved by the American Bar Association.
For more information, contact the Paralegal Program at 516-572-7774 or email us at paralegal@ncc.edu.
Once again, we continue with Law You Should Know. From the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denise, Corker, and Sauer, here is attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome back to Law You Should Know. We're talking about Social Security disability, and attorney Shamini Prasad, with offices in Farmingdale, Long Island, New York, is providing us with an update under who might be eligible for Social Security disability benefits and what kind of benefits you might receive. Shamini, you were telling us about the process that a person can, you'll help someone file the application or they can do it on their own. What happens after that?
Well, once they file their application, Social Security, if the client is pro se, Social Security is supposed to help that claimant obtain medical evidence. The claimant is supposed to be able to talk to a claims representative down at the local district office who will assist the claimant in basically processing that claim. Unfortunately, though, the government is so backlogged and understaffed, there's really nobody to assist that unrepresented claimant. So if the claimant is represented by an attorney, the attorney completes all the forms. The attorney has the face-to-face with the local district office. They deal with the claims representatives. The attorney gathers the medical evidence. The attorney will complete the necessary forms, file them in the necessary places, and duplicate them when necessary.
So there's really no harm done in someone taking advantage of the free consultation that you offer or having you complete the application for them.
Right, exactly. And our fee is strictly contingent.
Right, and if they are awarded disability, it will be paid out of the proceeds, and has to be, that amount will have to be approved by Social Security anyway.
Yes, all fees paid to the attorney must be approved by the government.
Okay, and how long does that process take?
The average case on Long Island has been taking about 15 months. In the 5 boroughs, we've seen the litigation time go up to about 24 months.
Okay, and eventually they would get, if they're approved, they would get benefits from day one?
Minus the 5-month waiting period.
Okay.
So if there is a lengthy litigation of, let's say it is 2 years, the client would receive a retroactive benefit minus 5 months.
And it's 5 months when they applied or 5 months when the disability started?
Yeah, well, basically 5 months from the date the disability has been determined to have begun.
Okay. So again, as you mentioned earlier, if they think it's on the horizon and going to happen soon, they should apply before that.
Yeah, they should go seek counsel, get some information, and if they feel that their illness is going to meet the duration requirement, file.
And you've mentioned that many people do apply on their own.
Yes.
And they may or may not be successful. What happens if their condition is or their application is rejected? What can they do?
Well, they will get 60 days to appeal. So whether they have an attorney or not, that appeal form has to be filed. And I will take a case even if a client has attempted to represent him or herself and been denied. Most attorneys would represent a client if they were denied.
Okay, and that's just important to explain that if someone filed the application on their own, they've been denied, they can still come to you for the appeal.
Yes.
And what do you do at that point?
We will file the appeal. Hopefully they come to us within the 60 days.
So the sooner they come to you, the better.
Yes.
And again, there's no attorney fee up front.
Right.
And even if you represented someone and their application's denied, you will also, if you feel it warranted, appeal for them.
Yes, we would.
And again, there's no fee or anything involved. It will be taken, whatever fee you're entitled to will be taken out of the proceeds if they're ultimately awarded disability.
Right, it's a contingency fee basis.
Okay. And what are some of the other factors that the Social Security might look at to, if a case is in the gray area or in the middle, what kind of other things may help the client's situation?
Diagnostic testing, MRIs, CAT scans, EMGs, if you have a cardiac condition, EKGs, Doppler studies, any type of exercise testing. The government really relies heavily on diagnostic testing. And so and also the doctors, in order for the doctor to be able to treat a patient, the doctor would prescribe diagnostic testing. So we could use those.
So the diagnostic testing might create some kind of objective record?
Yes.
And if they've had surgery, even if the surgery was sort of medically successful, but it hasn't restored movement to the person sufficiently to work. Is that important?
Yes, it's very important. Most clients feel, well, after I have the surgery, if I feel better, then I'm not eligible. That's not so.
Is obesity a ground for getting Social Security disability?
About 8 years ago, Social Security eliminated the obesity listing. There used to be a criteria for obesity. So there is no longer a what we call a listing. However, if you have obesity in addition to other conditions, maybe bilateral knee injuries, bilateral hip, or asthma or pulmonary, in combination with the obesity, that's a winnable case.
And what about mental illnesses? What level would it have to be to justify Social Security disability on its own or in combination with some kind of physical illness?
Well, I've won many cases where a client has been solely disabled by mental impairment.
What type of impairment would it have to be?
Depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, paranoid. We've had the run-of-the-mill with mental illness.
Okay, so it has to be not manageable even with medication or treatment? Or
Yes. You have to have a psychologist or a psychiatrist who has been monitoring your condition, medicating, non-medicating, and just showing that despite this level of care, the mental impairment persists.
And with all social disability, it's either black or white. It's not a person could work within certain limitations or under certain supervision or part-time. It's either you cannot work at all or you can work.
Well, that's Social Security's mentality.
Well, I'm asking you, is that basically it? You can't say, if I could work, I might be able to work 2 days a week or under supervision or on light duty or with a lot of support.
No, Social Security has a lot of work incentive and ticket to work programs. For instance, if you are working but you're making less than $1,040 a month, you're not what we call gainfully employed, you would still be able to apply for disability because you're earning below what they call substantial gainful activity.
Okay, so that would apply to a lawyer if they could earn that in one day, or let's say a person earning less if they work the whole month and that's all they earned?
Yes, that's all. It's a month, and it's gross.
But I'm just saying, it doesn't matter if it takes you 20 days to earn that amount or you earn it in one day.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And then also there are certain work that you can do and it's in a sheltered workshop environment. That is not considered competitive work. If you're in a sheltered workshop and you have an accommodation or a special circumstance that's allowing you to fulfill that job, that's not considered gainful, and that can be discounted.
Would something like Lyme disease qualify, or it depends on the exact nature of the impairment Lyme disease causes?
No. I've won many cases with Lyme's disease, but those cases that I have won are very severe Lyme's disease.
So you need the diagnosis plus the severe you need to document the severe impairment.
Yes, you have to have some symptoms, and that's where the doctors come in. You need your doctor to support your case.
And it would have to be a severe level of anxiety or depression as well.
Yes.
When you are working on the appeal, can you put different medical records? Can you embellish the record that the application was decided on, or you just say they came to the wrong conclusion?
No, it's a little bit of both, but most of the time what we do is we look and see what medical evidence went in and why the case was denied at that level, and then we step it up. We step up the medical. Perhaps there was no clear statement. Perhaps the doctor offered a speculative diagnosis with no diagnostic test. We would file the appeal, and then we would ask the doctor to order additional testing or complete an affidavit or affidavit of medical opinion. So you can add medical documentation to the case at any time during, before, and after the appeal.
And do they have someone physically examine the person on behalf of Social Security? Or
yes. There is a consultative exam ordered by Social Security, and sometimes, in the cases we've seen, there are 2 consultative examiners.
And they review the underlying medical records as well, plus conduct their own clinical exam?
Well, they don't, unfortunately, Social Security doesn't always provide them with all the records, but in theory, they're supposed to be provided with all the medical records that can be obtained for the impairment. They don't order new tests. The only thing that they would probably do is have the client undergo an X-ray.
Will they have their own psychiatric exam or
Yes.
just rely on the psychiatric records?
No, we've seen internists, cardiologists, and
Our
psychologists.
time is really flying. I
Okay.
just want to offer you a chance to give your website again and Social Security website and any final tips you have.
Okay, the website is www.shamaniprasad.com, and we're located in Farmingdale, right on Route 110, 1105, Route 110, Farmingdale, New York.
And the Social Security website?
The Social Security website is www.ssa.gov.
And I just want to just spell out your name so that everyone has it if
S-
they look for your website.
Okay, good. ShamRadioSpotWMMaker.
Okay, and what, just in 30 seconds, what other tips would you have for someone applying for Social Security disability?
I would say get your benefit estimate from the Social Security website, and then as soon as you have that, go speak with an attorney.
Because you have nothing to lose by consulting with the attorney, and even if you've been denied, it's very important you consult with an attorney as soon as possible.
Yes, absolutely.
And the person will get a larger check up front to pay the initial, to pay the back benefits. And is it forever, or it's for a limited period of time once they receive the benefits?
Well, everyone gets reviewed, all Social Security cases. So once you've been awarded and approved in your in-payment status, Social Security will review your case from time to time for medical, obviously, to see if there's medical improvement. So the review time could be 3 to 4 years from the date that you're awarded, and I've seen some 5 to 7 years.
And does someone need an attorney like yourself at that point?
Most clients do not. However, if the review has resulted in termination, then yes.
Okay. I would like to thank our guest, Shamani Prasad, who handles Social Security disability. And as you've heard, it's a consultation is free, and you heard her website, shamaniprasad.com. You're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC. But keep in mind, whatever you've heard is presented as legal information only. You should get legal advice from your own attorney based on your own particular situation. And you can listen to these programs on the web at ncc.edu/WHPC or free podcast at itunes.ncc.edu. Please join us at next week at this same time for another program on Law You Should Know.